The howl of wolves echoes through the darkness. Tonight, no one in this tribe will sleep. A young woman has been in labor for several hours. Her face is soaked with sweat from exhaustion. She tightly grips the hand of an older woman, a woman whose hair is completely white, who probably witnessed more births and more deaths than anyone else in the tribe. There is no doctor. There is no medicine. No one can be sure whether in the next few minutes the mother will survive or the baby. Now, let me tell you a secret. This woman is not real. Her name is not real either. But her story could have been the story of millions of mothers who lived tens of thousands of years ago. And if just one of those mothers had failed to keep her child alive, maybe I wouldn't be here today, and neither would you. We usually think early humans were only focused on hunting mammoths, but the truth is, the greatest battle of their lives wasn't hunting. The greatest battle was keeping their children alive. Because a human newborn is one of the most helpless babies in the entire animal kingdom. A foal stands on its feet less than an hour after birth. A fawn can run with its mother on the very first day. Even many monkeys cling to their mother's body from the moment they are born. But a human baby can't even hold up its own head. It can't find food, it can't keep itself warm, it can't defend itself. In fact, if you left a human infant alone in nature, its chance of survival would be almost zero. This raises a strange question. Why did nature create such a weak creature? The answer lies inside our own skulls. The human brain is so large that if the baby stayed in the womb any longer, childbirth would become extremely difficult or even impossible for the mother. That's why humans had to give birth to their babies much more prematurely than most other mammals. A large part of our brain development happens outside the womb. This brought a major advantage, but it also created a much bigger problem. Now, every baby needed constant care for several years, and that forever changed the course of human evolution. But the problem didn't end there. Let's assume this baby was born healthy. Now, a question. If its mother dies the next morning, what happens to the child? This is where one of the most incredible secrets of human history begins. Morning has come. Sunlight slowly enters the cave. The baby born last night is still alive. The women of the tribe breathe a sigh of relief. But if you think the danger is over, you're wrong. In reality, the hardest part has only just begun. Because to survive, this newborn must do something that every human baby has done for millions of years. It must drink milk. Today, breast milk is considered a choice, but tens of thousands of years ago, breast milk was life itself. Every sip the baby took didn't just fill its stomach, it also prepared its body for the battles ahead. Scientists today know that breast milk is full of substances that help a baby's immune system fight many microbes. Now, place that next to a terrifying reality. Back then, almost nowhere had completely clean drinking water. A river might have had an animal carcass upstream. A pond could have been full of parasites. Even the container used to store food could cause illness. For an adult, these dangers might have been bearable, but for a newborn, sometimes a simple infection was enough to end everything in just a few days. That's why the safest and healthiest food a baby could have was its mother's milk. But now, imagine, 3 days have passed. The mother is still weak from giving birth. She has a fever, and every hour her condition grows worse. The women of the tribe gather around her with concern. One question fills everyone's mind. If the mother dies, what happens to the baby? You might think the answer is obvious. the baby dies too. But not always. This is where humans reveal one of the most important secrets of their survival. In many ancient societies, when a mother could not breastfeed or passed away, another nursing woman would sometimes take responsibility for the infant. Today, we call this woman a wet nurse, but back then, it was not just a job or a custom, it was a means of survival. Imagine two women giving birth around the same time. Both have milk. If one of them loses her life, the other can nurse both babies. Perhaps that simple decision allowed one of your distant ancestors to survive and ultimately made it possible for you to watch this video today. But one question still remains. Why would a woman be willing to nurse someone else's child? The answer may be the most important human trait of all: cooperation. From the very beginning, humans understood that they could not endure alone. If I help your child today, perhaps tomorrow when something happens to me, you will save mine. This trust made tribes stronger, and every tribe that cooperated more had a greater chance of survival. Scientists have given this kind of care an interesting name: alloparenting. It means that raising a child is not solely the responsibility of the parents. Grandmothers, grandfathers, older sisters, uncles, aunts, and sometimes even other members of the tribe took part in caring for that child. In reality, a human infant was raised from the very first day on the shoulders of an entire community. Perhaps this is why we humans are so dependent on connection with others from early childhood. But there's an even stranger detail. Have you ever noticed that most babies start crying the moment they're put down? Many people think it's just a habit, but maybe millions of years ago, that very cry saved their lives. Because every moment a baby was separated from its caregiver, it risked facing cold, hunger, or predators. So, the babies who quickly protested and were picked up again had a better chance of surviving. And that trait was passed down from generation to generation. That's why even today, the sound of a heartbeat, skin-to-skin contact, and the arms of a caregiver calms so many infants. This isn't just a pleasant feeling. It's a relic from our very distant past. But there's one question still remains unanswered. Despite all the disease, all the death, and all the hardship, how did humans manage to leave Africa, cross mountains and deserts, and conquer nearly the entire planet? The answer to that question may be more astonishing than anything we've said so far. The winter that changed everything. 5 years have passed. The same baby who on the night of his birth everyone thought might not survive until morning is now walking on his own 2 feet. He still doesn't even reach his mother's knee, but every day he grows more curious. He picks up stones, studies animal tracks, and tries to jump over the stream like the adults. His mother smiles from a distance. Maybe for the first time in a long while, she feels that the hardest days of her life are over. But she doesn't know that nature has only just begun the real test. The air grows colder every day. The birds that always flew over the valley are disappearing one by one. The trees no longer bear fruit. Deer tracks are seen less and less. An old man of the tribe quietly says, "A hard winter is coming." And the elders were rarely wrong. They didn't know meteorology, but they knew nature like the back of their hand. A few weeks later, food is scarce. Hunts are fewer. Even the children can tell that something has changed. There are no more large pieces of meat by the fire. Everyone receives a smaller share. This raises an important question. When food was scarce for everyone, did the children eat first? You might expect the answer to always be yes, but the reality isn't that simple. In some groups, the adults responsible for hunting or gathering needed enough energy to find food again the next day. In other groups, children and mothers were given higher priority. There was no single rule for all ancient humans, but one thing was almost universal: no one could survive alone. That night, one hunter returns empty-handed, then another,
Then another. The cave is silent. No one says a word. Everyone knows what that silence means. If that night everyone had only thought of themselves, the tribe probably would have fallen apart. But something else happened. The last pieces of food were shared among everyone. It was little, very little, but it was shared. Today, this might seem ordinary, but from an evolutionary perspective, this simple behavior was one of the greatest reasons for human success. We didn't just learn how to hunt, we learned how to share. When scientists examined the bones of ancient humans, they discovered something strange. Among those bones were people who had lived for years with broken legs or severe illnesses. Think about it for a moment. If a hunter couldn't walk, how did he survive for several more years? There's only one answer. Someone took care of him, brought him food, protected him. And that means humans understood the concept of caring for one another long before they ever built cities. The same little boy our story began with is now sitting by the fire. His grandfather picks up a stick. He starts drawing on the ground. Deer tracks, wolf paw prints, and the direction of the wind. He's not just telling a story, he's passing on something more valuable than gold, knowledge. Because no generation had to learn everything from scratch. Each generation stood on the shoulders of the one before it. Perhaps the greatest human invention was not the spear, not fire, but this ability to pass on experience. Years later, that boy grows up. He becomes a father himself. And one night, the same story repeats. Another baby is born. He is just as helpless as his father once was. He cannot survive without the help of others. But this time, there's a big difference. His father knows what to do, because someone years earlier had taught him these things. And this chain continued for thousands of generations, generation after generation, until it reached us. When we think about the past, the first image that usually comes to mind is hunting mammoths or fighting wild animals. But perhaps the most important event in human history was none of those. Perhaps the most important event happened every night beside a small fire, when the elders passed their experiences to the children, when a mother held her newborn, when a tribe was willing to share its last piece of food. Civilization didn't begin with building palaces. Civilization began with care. From the moment humans understood, if we want to survive tomorrow, we must look after each other today. Now, take a moment to think about yourself. Right now, as you watch this video, behind you stands a chain of thousands of generations. Generations that faced famine, cold, disease, the loss of loved ones, but never gave up. If even one of those links had broken, this video would not exist, nor would I, nor would you. So, the next time you look at a newborn, remember, you are the result of millions of years of effort, cooperation, and love. And perhaps that is the greatest miracle in human history. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to subscribe, because next time we are going to tell another astonishing story from the ancient world.